All right, good morning. This is a little weird broadcasting to an empty classroom, but we're here. It is 8:31 and I have 0 smiling A period faces in my room right now, unfortunately. But we're still going to try to work through this worksheet. We're going to do this in one take, so I'm sure I'll screw something up, but I'm not really worried about production quality right now. We're going to work on this worksheet, which is the front page of the one that I posted. What you're seeing up here is just the zoomed in chart. That's what we're going to have to concentrate on. I will go ahead and answer the questions, but first let's complete the chart. This should be a bit of a review. You have number of pens in this column here. Marginal physical product, again, just change in quantity of output over change in labor. So 20 minus 0 over 1 minus 0 is 20, and 30, and 20, 70 minus 50 is 20, 85 minus 70 is 15, 95 minus 85 is 10, and we have 5 here. We have a price is given at $2 per pen. Total revenue is simply price times quantity, so we have these two columns. 20 times 2 is 40, 50 times 2 is 100, 140, somebody check my math, 170, whoops, 190, and 200. And then finally, the most important one, how we decide how many workers we're going to hire. Marginal revenue product, marginal physical product, how many additional units does each worker contribute, times the marginal revenue, which in this instance, until a lesson tomorrow, is still the same because every good is priced exactly the same. So marginal physical product of the first worker is 20 new units. I get to sell them for 2, so that worker brings in $40. Also, I skipped over this, but please remember that the total revenue column is also dollars. Anything with revenue is dollars. Anything with just product here is a number. 30 new products for the second worker, 50 total. Started with 20, now has 50, 30 new. I get to sell them for 2, so that is 60. 20 new workers at $20 is 40, 15 at 2 is 30, and 10 at 2 is 20, and 5 and 2 is 10. There's our chart. Now let's look at the questions down below. The first question says, why does the number of additional pens produced decrease as more workers are hired? What we see here is the first worker brings in 20, the second worker brings in 30. So the second worker actually contributes more than the first worker. So that, when we go from here to here, is where we have specialization. The second worker brings in more than the first worker. But from here on out, as we produce more and more workers, as we hire more and more workers, yes, they add to the total, but they add less than the total. So this is where diminishing marginal returns sets in. Diminishing marginal return sets in. Every time that I hire a new worker, they still contribute a positive amount. It's just a less positive amount. Okay? So why does the number of additional pens produced decrease as more workers are hired? Question 1, because of diminishing marginal returns. How do you explain that? As I add more variable resources, workers are a variable resource, to a fixed resource, to my kitchen, the additional product from each worker decreases. Don't say the total product decreases, the additional product from each worker decreases. 1, check. 2, if the wage is 30, how many workers should Panther Pens hire? Okay, this is the question that's always going to come up when you get one of these charts. So what do we want to do is we want to say, okay, I know that every worker right now costs me, and I'm going to write a wage column right here, every worker costs me $30. So the question you ask is, again, is the revenue you bring in greater than or equal to how much you cost me, okay? And the wage is the marginal factor cost. The wage is the marginal factor cost. I hire every worker for the same amount. Wage is $30. 40 is greater than 30, 100 greater than 30. I'm looking at the wrong column. And we should be looking at marginal revenue product, not total revenue. So this worker brings in 40, costs me 30. Second worker brings in 60, costs me 30. Third worker brings in 40, costs me 30. Fourth worker brings in 30, costs me 30. Go ahead and hire them. It's greater than or equal to. Fourth worker costs me 20. Brings in 20, costs me 30. So don't hire them. So the last worker we hire is the fourth worker. Question 2, the answer is the fourth worker. Why? Because that's the last output which marginal revenue product is greater than or equal to the marginal factor cost. 3 says if the demand for pens increases so that Panthers Pens can sell as many pens as it wants for $3, what effect will this have on the number of workers that Panther Pens hires? So think about it this way. Think about we have a product graph, okay? And I have no good place to write this, maybe over here. I can't. Yeah. And if the demand for the product increases, the price of the product is going to go up. So that's what essentially happened here. We're back in the product graph, and the demands for the pens, it says nothing about workers. Demands for the pens increases, the price goes up to 3. What effect will this have on the number of workers that Panther Pens hires? Well, now this whole column here that was 2, okay, now becomes $3 because the price goes up, and now I'm going to hire more workers, which should make sense. Now remember, labor is a determinant, or the demand for labor is determined from the demand for the good. Price goes up, which means now when I take it times marginal revenue, I multiply by 3, and now I have 60, 3 times 20, marginal physical product. Oh, yeah. So 20, I erased the 0 here, 20 now is $60, 30 times 3 is $90, 20 times 3 is $60, 15 times 3 is $45, the fifth worker 10 times 3 is $30, and the fourth worker 5 times 3 is 15. So now I have a whole new marginal revenue product column there, okay? And the marginal revenue product, 60 for the first worker, 90 for the second, 60 for the third, 45 for the fourth, 30 for the fifth. So now I hire 5 workers, okay? The price of the good goes up, okay? What happened? And question 3 says, what effect will this have on the number of workers they hire? They'll hire more because now MRP is greater than or equal to MFC at the fifth worker. I might have misspoken, said 4 earlier. At the fifth worker instead of the fourth worker. Okay. So if the price of the good goes up, I will hire more workers because that is determined from the demand for the good. Price of the good goes to 3, MRP goes up. Now I hire 5 workers instead of 4 workers. Question 4, in general, in order to maximize profit, a firm should hire an additional worker as long as that worker's, very simply, their marginal revenue product is greater than or equal to her marginal factor cost. Okay, that's that worksheet. We will take a break while I upload this, and then we'll try the back of the worksheet. Talk to you later.